Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Stroke. I'm your host and stroke survivor, Jerry Wald. And for those of you that are new here, I started doing this show to bring awareness to stroke, TBI, aphasia, brain injury. Also, to provide a platform for all survivors to share their journeys from all across the world. And also, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Let's Talk Stroke, please do. I appreciate it. And so this morning, my guest is Matt Homer, and please welcome him, and he'll talk about his amazing journey from 15 years ago. So if you're a Michigan fan, that's what he's all about, I think. So, but we'll talk about it. So let's go ahead and get this show started. And again, ask questions, make comments, and let's have a good time. Don't be shy. Okay, well, good morning, everyone, and happy Christmas Eve. So let's go ahead and bring on Matt, and we'll hear all about his journey. Wow, I just mumbled myself around. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Jerry?
Doing good, doing good. And I appreciate you coming on. I love where you're at right there. I mean, if anybody knows, there it is. That's a fire truck. Beautiful, beautiful. So
it's my second home.
It is, yeah. So I don't know if I should have said Michigan fan, but
Oh no, you're go blue.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Matt, thank you for being here, and maybe we could start with just who was Matt before your stroke and other things that have happened?
I was a full-time firefighter before my stroke. Never knew anything about a stroke. I never even had training for a stroke for the firefighting career. And
yeah, shocking, isn't it?
I had my stroke when I was sleeping.
Oh.
I was supposed to pick up our son that day from daycare, and apparently I never woke up, which I didn't.
Wow.
And they called my wife, and my wife picked up my son. They came home, and they found me unconscious in bed still.
Wow, that's interesting.
So,
how long were you out? Unconscious. Tough word there.
There's a couple times that I remember a little fuzzy things when I was in the hospital right after the stroke, but for the most part, they kept me pretty much sedated and asleep.
Wow.
Because they said it helped with the brain swelling.
Wow. And did you have what kind of stroke did you have? Was it hemorrhagic or
ischemic?
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So so you were out, and how long did you spend in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for 3 months in acute rehab, and boy, they work you.
Yeah.
It was Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
Every morning, they wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be back to my room by lunch. And man, I was whooped.
Yeah, I bet.
When I started out, they would come get me and put me in a wheelchair and wheel me to the therapy gym.
Right.
And after a couple of weeks, I was able to take a lot more steps. And they came in with the wheelchair, put it off the side, said, "Okay, you're walking to the gym." And I was like, "You want me to what?"
Yeah. Wow. So you couldn't walk. Probably. How was your speech then? It was probably like mine.
And I was very wobbly and unbalanced. But the cane they had, I can't remember the name of the cane, but I called it the step stool cane because it looked like a step stool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then I moved to a quad cane. I still use that every now and then. Like if I go to a store and there's a lot of walking, or my son's baseball games, I'll use the cane. Because long walks, man, I'm done.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. Do you get neuro fatigue?
Oh yeah, still.
Okay. Wow.
I also did a Botox for lower limb spasticity.
Right.
That was going really, really good with great results. But when President Obama took office and the Obamacare kicked in,
Right.
my current insurance stopped covering anything that was stroke related, which
Really?
included medicine too, because it was considered an existing condition.
Wow.
But that Obamacare was supposed to eliminate that, but it didn't.
Wow. That's interesting. So what I'm sorry, but then you said some kind of a tumor or something.
Yeah, when I had the stroke, they did a CAT scan on my head, and they found that I had a golf ball sized tumor in my head.
Wow.
And our hospital is just a little rinky-dink hospital, so they said they could. They told my wife there's nothing they could do for me here, and I was transferred down to St. Vincent Hospital in Toledo, Ohio. I stayed there for a couple months, and that's where I had my brain surgery. And after that, that's when they transferred me to the inpatient acute rehab center.
Wow.
Which is basically right around the corner from the hospital I was at.
3 months.
So luckily luckily I was close to home. Well, close-ish. So my wife and son could come see me and
wow.
Anybody else.
Yeah, well, yeah. What do they think when they? I mean, that must have been pretty scary when you're sleeping. You had your stroke in your sleep.
Yeah. I didn't know what was going on. I just woke up in the hospital. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But the day that it happened, I was supposed to pick my son up from daycare, and I didn't wake up. So they called my wife, and then my wife went and picked him up, and they came home and they found me unconscious in bed. I never woke up.
Wow. Well,
I like to say I woke up dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the name of it, Kevin. It's a hemicane. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys. Wow.
Merry Christmas to you too, Lynn.
Pretty amazing. So you had quite the journey. So obviously the tumor gone, or because you had an operation. Did you have a? Yeah.
I did. The whole time I was in the acute rehab center, I did chemo every day. I think it was like 3 or 4 hours a day, but it was during my physical therapy and occupational therapy. And a couple of days after they started the treatment, they were wheeling me down to the gym. When we got down there, and I just started throwing up all over myself. And the one therapist was like, okay, let's go get you cleaned up. And they wouldn't let me stay in my room because I was sick. They made me go back down there no matter what, which I'm glad they did, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them telling me, no, you got to keep working.
Right. Wow. Pretty interesting. Oh my gosh. So the tumors, it's all gone. It's
they said that for the type of cancer it was a very common cancer for younger people like me and my age. And it did come back in 2011, I think it was, or 10.
Okay.
And I had more treatments, and it shrunk and disappeared. And so far, since then, I've been cancer-free.
Good for you.
But before the stroke, I had colon cancer, and they found that through a routine colonoscopy.
Wow. How old were you when your stroke happened?
When I had the first stroke, I was 32, 31, and then the big one was at 33.
Wow.
I had a mini stroke at 32, 33 or something like that, a couple years before the big stroke. It was actually it was the fall before my wedding.
Oh no, really?
So, and the only effects I had with the mini stroke was I was dizzy, couldn't, my balance was really bad, and I didn't have any deficits with my arm and my leg like I do now.
Wow. So what are your deficits?
My left side, my arm and my leg are still weak. I can use them, but they're not very dependable.
Right.
I had a problem with falling a lot after I came back home. So my hip is not very good. My doctor told me I'm one fall away from going into a nursing home. That's how damaged my hip is right now. So
yeah, I know about falling.
When I was doing outpatient therapy, they taught me how to get back up from a fall.
Right.
And there's only one way you can get down there to learn how to get back up.
Yeah. Falling, it's like slow motion.
They put a bunch of mess on the floor, and then they're like, okay, get down here on the floor.
And you had no choice. You have to learn to get up.
Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. So do you have seizures at all?
No. That's one thing I've noticed. A lot of other survivors, they have either a seizure issue before the stroke or they have one now.
Yeah.
Because of the brain damage.
Sure. Exactly.
So one of the things that my doctor told me before the stroke, I was a big coffee drinker. It was always sugar and cream. Now it's just straight black. Because they said black coffee is the best to drink because it helps rejuvenate the nerves in your brain.
Wow.
So here's to our brains.
Little coffee there. No, yeah. I appreciate you guys here. Listen to Matt's story. 15 years ago, you had your stroke, cancer, and brain tumor. So, Lindora, Musong, Robin, if I forget, thank you for being here. I'd love to know where you're from, everyone, because you're in Michigan.
Yes, I'm in Monroe, Michigan. We are, right about, here's the state line right here at the wrist.
Right.
I'm about right here.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can see that, but
yes.
I'm only 15 miles north of the Ohio-Michigan border.
Wow. Right near. Yes. Lynn, I see your comment here. I know. I could bring up the comments, but for some reason, it's coming up in cursive or something. Right. Yes. Lynn, thank you for being here. But yeah, so what else do you that it's taken? I mean, you're 15 years out and you're still having issues, this is typical with and you were a firefighter, and you said you didn't really know about a stroke, or you weren't trained in it.
No, because way back then, nobody really knew what a stroke was. You didn't hear that word at all.
Yeah.
And if anything, it was mainly in the older people that were having strokes or the very young people after they were born.
Right.
When I was in the acute rehab, you would not believe how many kids were in there doing therapy because they had their stroke while they were being born.
Yeah.
And then there were some kids that had a form of cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
That they needed to rehab with. And
yeah,
it was fun. I mean, the kids would make it a contest. Well, who can walk the most steps? Who can lift the weight the most?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I lost every time I lost.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. What else about did you have any other you had any other issues with falling? You don't fall now. I mean, do you?
On the ice I do.
Oh, are you going you get on the ice?
Huh?
I'm not I do not. I go anywhere. We have snow every once in a while here, but I can't go out. Because if there's ice, I know what's happening. I'm down.
Well, my bad leg, it has a habit of doing when I walk and I go to step. You know how our foot slammed down. Well, when it does that, there's no resistance, so my leg just goes whoop. Yeah. And I follow suit.
Exactly.
But I was a patrol officer up in Ypsilanti back in 2000 and 17, I think it was.
Right.
And I don't remember what happened, but from what I was told, I was found in the middle of the road, unconscious, by one of the apartment residents.
Wow.
And the only thing I remember from that night is waking up in an ambulance with, all the paramedics surrounded by me.
Right.
And I thought I got in an accident. I started freaking out. I was like, how's the other person? Are they okay?
Right. Right.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. And I found out basically all I did was I was walking in the road and I slipped and I fell backwards and knocked myself out from what I saw on the video.
Wow.
So now, since then, I wear, they're called yak tracks, and there's snow and ice cleats that you can put on your shoe.
Right.
And so I wear those out in the wintertime now, whether it's snowing or ice or anything.
Yeah, no, I understand that. You don't wear an AFO then? You don't?
Yeah, I do.
Do you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have. When I first came home, it was an actual full leg AFO that went up to my upper thigh.
Right. Wow.
I started walking better. They took that top part off and told me I'd still need the lower part because my foot would still slap.
Right. Right.
I did wear. Have you ever heard of the device called the Walk Aid?
Yeah, I have.
I did. You say you have one?
No, I do know I've used those. I mean, I've used that before a long time ago.
I had one and I used it for quite a while until my legs started swelling up because I was getting more blood clots. So my legs would swell up and I couldn't wear it anymore. And I just got so used to not wearing it, I haven't put it on since.
Oh, good. Good for you. Wow. But still the AFO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you go to any stroke support groups? I know we talk, I mean, in person.
I used to. When I first came home, I looked up. That's one of the first things I did was look up support groups.
Wow.
And I found a few of them. I joined, and then I also joined a local support group here in Monroe because my therapist here for outpatient therapy told me about it. And then that led to another local group that I joined, but I haven't been very active in quite a while because, life happens and you just get busy and.
Right. But it's nice that you're, I mean, the people that they're showing up late. I mean, you're at the firehouse right now.
Yeah.
And we would hear if there's a call, right? I mean, the siren.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely know. But I don't respond to medical calls. I only do fires and accidents.
Right.
Because the division I'm on is a CERT and rehab division. And what that is the community emergency response team. And we're all volunteers and we respond with the fire department to fire calls and accidents to help out with, fires. It's mainly like hydration, nutrition. We'll give them water, Gatorade, meal bars, like breakfast bars, stuff like that.
Right. Right.
We'll pull the coffee pot out and make some coffee, help keep them warm.
Right.
And then we also, in the back of our ambulance, we also use it for heat and cooling stations for the firefighters and for any of the occupants that were in the house.
Wow.
Because it's hard. I remember this one house. It was a family of 3, and they had a beautiful golden retriever. And they're all standing out in the middle of the street watching their house burn down.
Huh.
So when we arrived on scene, I could tell that was their house. I walked up to them and asked if they're okay and, offered them some water and some blankets. And then boom, dad starts crying. Mom starts crying. The daughter started crying. I started crying. So, we just talked to them and kind of keep them calm and offer them a place to be out of the elements. That way they're not standing there watching everything they have disappear. So
interesting. Wow.
I was at work this past Friday, and on my way home, my pager went off it started out as a second alarm fire. So I went right to the station from work. And by the time I got there, it was a 4-alarm fire. And at the end, after they got done doing all the overhauling, and for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's basically at the end of the fire where they pull the ceilings and the walls out to put out any hot spots and make sure nothing's going to reignite. Well, after they did that, 3 of the firefighters come walking out of the house with their arms outstretched, and they were cradling a dog. Well, they brought out 2 dogs and a cat that they found during their search.
Mm.
So they brought them out. They took them over to the family, and they all stood around in a circle to say their goodbyes. And
Oh, wow.
I had to walk away. So I walked away, and I started loading up the LDH on one of the engines.
Wow.
But I mean, that's some of the stuff.
Yeah, deal with.
I'm not fighting fires anymore, but I'm able to help the fire department.
Right. It's good you do that, because I sent you the video of my son-in-law in the truck. That looked like a fire. I don't know what it was, but it was a big fire.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably at least a 2 or 3 alarm fire, depending on how big the fire department is.
Yeah.
Our fire department right now we have 2 stations that are manned 24 hours a day, and they only have 3 people on shift 24 hours a day. So, and then we have the volunteer firefighters that's why we have pagers, If the pager goes off, then we report to the station or the scene. So we don't have very many members here. So when there's a big fire like that, we had 3 other different fire stations come to that fire on Friday.
Wow.
So it's not just our firefighters that were, assisting.
Right.
We're helping, all the surrounding firefighters.
Were you working when you had your stroke? Did they wonder where you were?
They did, but my wife had my phone, so she did tell me that, they were contacting me. She told them what happened, and after a couple of days when I got the rehab, I was able to call them and let them know what's going on, and I'm still alive. And
Right.
You're not getting rid of me that easily.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of me then. Marina,
the first trip that I took after the stroke was to I don't know if you ever heard of Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan.
I don't.
We went there because my son was only 2 years old back then, and he loved Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh, okay.
And they had a Thomas the Tank Engine at Greenfield Village, and he wanted to ride it. Well, so we just made it a whole family day, and
nice.
He was all excited until we got on the train and started moving. Then he started crying and freaking out. And
oh my gosh. Yes, they are, Lindora. First responders are the best people. Thank you for all that you do. Yes, absolutely. Well, so the part of your firefighting that you had to kind of retire, or you couldn't go back to that job because of all that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way I can go into a fire being in a wheelchair or using a cane.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jerry Chapman, Bruce, thanks for being here, you guys. Wow.
Merry Christmas to you, Bruce and Jerry.
Absolutely. Yes. Quite the. So what would you tell somebody that's going through this? I mean, having a stroke, because there's a lot of movies.
My main complaint about having a stroke was when it came time to go home, excuse me, nobody told me what to expect, or here's what's going to happen, or try this to help this. No, it was contact your local therapy center and do outpatient therapy, and that was it. Yeah. There wasn't I'm on Social Security disability, luckily. I mean, there's a lot of us that probably don't have that right now because of the way the world is, and I just happen to get lucky and be approved for it.
Right.
So, but I only work part-time right now. I am a personal protection officer, and I only do that on Friday and Saturday nights because being on disability, you're only allowed to work so many hours a month.
Right.
So, and our contract is up come January 1st. So January 1st, I'll be without a job. So I'm thinking about trying out DoorDash. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, or.
Yeah. But get tips or but I know I see a lot of people and doing that. It's pretty popular.
The one thing I would really like to emphasize with any other survivor is do not listen to the doctors or therapists when they tell you at the 6-month mark or the year mark, this is what you're going to be. This is it. You're not going to get any better. Because that's horse manure.
Exactly.
It's 15 years out and I'm still, and there might be a week where can stand a little bit longer or walk an extra couple feet or something, it's the little things.
Yeah. You celebrate those wins, those small wins.
And yeah, you're going to see some big wins when you first get home from the hospital, and they're going to slowly start to die off, but that doesn't mean you're not getting better.
Right.
Because I had one neurosurgeon tell me that the brain is the wonder. The brain is very different, and it's hard to explain it. I said, yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
He said, honestly, it's one of those things that we don't know about very well right now. And, all we know is what we have seen previously. So, but don't ever listen to them. Keep working, and don't ever say no to your therapist. If they ask you to take 2 more steps, don't say, nah, I'm a little sore. Give it a try. If you fall, they're there to help you up.
Yeah.
But if you start getting in that mindset to where, I'm not going to push it too far today. I'm not feeling good or whatever. Yeah, you might have some legitimate things going on, but if you get in that mindset too early, then you're just going to default back to that, and maybe you won't be able to accomplish what you either were shooting for, or it might actually put you in a downward I guess you call it downward spiral, because you already had that mindset of no, so you're going to be thinking that automatically now.
Right. Exactly. Neuroplasticity. Your brain keeps rewiring itself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Wow. So
but there are a lot of resources now that, at least up here, that you can look into when you come home, or if you're getting ready to come home. I remember 2 weeks before I was discharged, they did what they call a home visit, where they come to your home just to look around and make sure everything was all okay and safe for somebody that has, mobility issues to walk around or whatever. And oh my God, it felt so good to walk in that door after, 2.5 months of being told what to do every day. And then you had to go back. And my wife took me back to the hospital. She said, well, you'll be going home in a couple more weeks. I said, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that picture that I sent you was the day that I was discharged. And my goal they have this bell that sits right outside the elevator. And for anybody that's stroke survivor or cancer survivor that might know, when you go into remission or you get discharged from a rehab center, you get to ring the bell on your way out.
Yeah.
Well, they started wheeling me down the hall, and I said, hey, I want to do that. Yeah. They wheeled me over there. I started ringing it, and one of the male occupational therapists come out and says, hey, what's going on? What's all this racket? And I'm like, I'm busting out of here.
See you later.
I had a very good relationship with the nurses and the therapists at the hospital.
Right. Yeah,
and
that's good.
We had, for a long time, I was in a bad place, and I wanted to talk to somebody, and the social worker never showed up. Well, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they said, well, I think I have somebody that'll talk to you. I said, okay. Well, the next day, this visiting nurse or nun came in.
Well.
And, we'd start talking, and it kind of threw me off. I'm like, is this my last rites?
Yeah. Oh, no.
And we started talking, and, we just got to talking like, if I was talking to a therapist, and she gave me this wooden cross on a chain necklace.
Right.
And to this day, it still sits on my rearview mirror.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you ever stay in contact with her?
What's that?
Do you stay in contact with her at all?
No, I don't think she works here anymore because the last time I went to visit, she wasn't there.
Oh,
And one of the nurses said she's been gone for a little while. So I don't know if maybe she got sick or if she got moved to a different hospital because she was a traveling nun. So I don't know
oh,
if, maybe she got a new hospital to travel to
sure.
but one of my favorite things was the therapy dogs.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that made my day every time they came in. I'm a big
Yeah.
dog guy.
Are you?
Yeah. At the time I had a pit bull black lab mix,
Wow.
and we rescued her out of Detroit. And part of the stipulation to rescue and adopt her was we had to put her in a puppy obedience class.
Wow.
So we did that, and then towards the end of the class, the director for the ASPCA up in Westland came up to us to talk to us, and she said, "Your dog is very well mannered," and she asked if we had thought about maybe training her as a therapy dog. And I'm like, "Well, what's that?" And she told me. I was like, "Okay, let's do it."
Wow.
So we put her through therapy dog training. And for people that don't know, therapy dog is basically a companion dog.
Right.
They're there to keep your spirits up, and they do know when you're not feeling well or in a bad mood. And my dog, she would always come up there and lick my face. And
Nice.
so, but we couldn't bring her to the hospital where I was at because even though, she was a therapy dog, she was part pit bull, and we would have to have an extra amount of insurance on her to take her to a hospital or a church or wherever,
Yeah.
So we never did that. I just used her as my personal therapy dog.
Do you still have her?
No, she passed away Father's Day night, 2016 or 17.
Wow.
Oddly enough, it was during a thunderstorm. She was already at the emergency vet because she was sick, and our power had just went out during the storm, and they called me and said, you need to come up here right now. It's not looking good.
Oh, wow.
So here, me and my son are driving through this storm up there to see her. And we got there. She took 2 big breaths, looked at us, and then took her last breath.
Ah, so sad. Wow. Awesome. So what else did we miss on your journey, your stroke journey? Because I know we talked about the nurses, the doctors, and you mentioned not to listen to the doctors or something. I mean,
Well, I didn't want to make it sound like they don't know what they're talking about, but
and I understand that.
like you had mentioned before, you were told that at the year mark,
Yeah.
that you're going to plateau, and once you've been through it and you understand that they start telling you this like 6 month or year mark,
Yeah.
you're not going to get any better, and here you are still doing it like a champ and getting better. So I didn't want to make people think that you shouldn't listen to your doctor, period. Yeah. It's just, if they tell you that this is where you're going to be at 6 months, you're not going to get any better, or 1 year. I never believed that. Well, I didn't know any better at that time. I'm like, what? I said, I can barely walk. How's that? That brings me up to another thing. June 5th, 2010, at 2 a.m., our house was struck by a tornado.
Wow.
It relocated part of the neighbor's tree into my house, and it came through the roof of my office, the home office.
Right.
And took out some of the roof, the siding, and the backyard. Well, once daybreak hit, we were able to go out there and take a look even more, and there's a lot of damage. That night, I literally slept through the tornado. My wife had to wake me up because she heard the sirens going off, so she went and grabbed my son, and they were going to wake me up, and we were going to head down to the basement.
Yeah. Wow.
At that time, I was still kind of in a wheelchair, walking, depending on the situation where we were going.
Right.
So we get to the top of the basement stairs, and we both look at each other. She says, "Well, how are you getting down there?" I said, "Just push me."
Oh,
I saw
no.
body surfing up the stairs.
Yeah.
She went and got my son's old crib mattress and put it down on the stairs. And I sat down on the mattress. And I don't know if you guys remember on the mattresses now, they have those little rope type handles on the sides.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you held on to that?
Yeah, I held on to that down the steps, but I also kind of leaned up against the wall to keep from going full speed down the stairs. And we got down there, and next thing you know, we hear all the stuff. It sounded like the house was being ripped off the foundation when the tree hit.
Wow. Crazy stuff. Yeah.
And it, part of the tree landed in my house, and another big branch fell off and landed on the neighbor's pole to house line that went to the meters.
Right.
It pulled the meters off of his house, and they're laying in the yard, in his backyard. Because he came over to check on us to make sure we're okay. He goes, "You want to see something funny?" I said, "Sure." We walked over to his yard, and we start walking back, and he goes, "Look, what's that?" I looked over at his garage where the meters were. I said, "Aren't they supposed to be there?" And we just started laughing. And
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't miss those tornadoes.
And then ever since then, I started taking Skywarn classes to learn how to not necessarily, I don't want to say predict storms, but forecast storms.
Yeah.
And I got into that, which then led me into storm chasing. And, you just start out storm chasing storms. And here I am now. And that was back in 2010. So that was basically 15 years now. That's almost 2025.
Right.
All because we got hit by a tornado. And I don't remember how much lead time or notification there was out in front of the tornado, because I slept through most of the sirens going off.
Wow.
And that's since I've chased storms since then. I just recently, anybody from Michigan watching, I just recently signed a contract with Michigan Storm Chasers as a chase partner for the state of Michigan.
Yeah, interesting, because I saw you put that on when you did your bio. You mentioned you're a storm chaser.
Yeah, I'm one of those crazy people out there, Lieutenant Danning it is what I call it. In the movie Forrest Gump, when he's sitting on top of the mast and he's like, "Is that all you got?" That's kind of how I am when storms are coming. And I've seen a few tornadoes, but my goal is to stay at least 5 miles away from a tornado, because it still gives me time to retreat if it starts moving towards me, or depending on the roads.
Right.
I might not have a clear way out, so I like to stay at least 5 miles away.
I don't blame you. Yeah. Wow.
Me and my friend were going down to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to chase down there, and we got to Waterville, Ohio, I think it was, and the whole sky is just spinning.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, we start seeing funnels drop and go back up. Well, this one funnel kept dropping and dropping and dropping. Next thing you know, it hit the ground, and we were maybe like 100 yards away. But thankfully, we were to the south. Most tornadoes move at a northeast track.
Right.
So, I was already to the south of the storm. So I took out, something drops like that not far away from you.
Yeah. Time to move.
And then, as we were leaving that, and I had a Ranger back then, and my Ranger was decked out with storm stuff, like the storm chasing logos on my car. I also had an anemometer on the top of my truck, and basically tells like the wind speed and direction.
Right. And
this cop seen us just slowly driving around. He pulled up and he's like, "You guys see anything?" I said, "Yeah, there's one just over there in Waterville." And his face just turned bright white.
So he took off.
he followed me around for a little while just to see damage and stuff like that. And after that,
Right.
we went back home. Well, that tornado I found out ended up going from Waterville over to Toledo, Ohio. And there was a KISS concert at the Huntington Center going on.
Nice.
And they had to shut that concert down and evacuate everybody.
Bummer. Yeah, KISS. Used to love them. That's really new. Yeah, wow. So what else is, what are you doing now besides your volunteering at the firehouse?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Right
still
now,
doing
I work. No, not unless I take a fall and I'm a little stiff or I get hurt and I can't use a leg or a limb or
Right.
But when I would fall, I would call 911 and ask for help to come get me up or whatever. Well,
Right.
Our department does what they call lift assist calls. I don't know if you've heard of them, but basically it's just a call where somebody falls and they need help getting back up. They're not injured. So it's called a lift assist.
Yeah.
And now if I fall, if I can get back up and I'm not, there's no bones sticking out of my skin anywhere, I don't even bother to call 911 now. I just get back up and
That's good.
Continue on.
Yeah.
But last Friday at that fire, it was freezing rain. So needless to say, the roads are slippery. Well, you get the fire trucks with all the water and everything that add to it.
Yeah.
I was walking out from behind the engine, and I was doing the whoa, slippery slip slide, whoa.
Oh,
and I went down twice. I went down twice on that fire, but it was amusing.
Yeah, I bet. For you and everybody else, probably.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see. What did we miss on your story? Did we miss anything? Because I really appreciate you being on.
We probably did, but
I know you
get tunnel vision, and
I didn't know. I understand everybody after we're done. They're like, I should have said this. It's important because you covered a lot on the bio when you wrote it. It's amazing. Gosh, let's see. You said something about being trying to help other people, or there was something. I'm trying to remember, but I know. I'll figure it out after.
If it's what I'm thinking about, there are some people that will contact me on Facebook, because they've seen my posts in other groups.
Sure.
And they'll say, hey, I have this issue right now. Does it get any better? Or how can I help it get better?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Pretty much just keep doing exercises at home. Stretching is another thing.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that enough, the stretching. I know I should, but
I used to do it religiously, but now I just think, okay, I can walk, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
But the cold weather, like what we have right now, is really bad on my stroke side.
Yeah. So
when I'm at home, I'm under an electric blanket to help kind of calm that down a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I use a weighted blanket.
Yeah. I have a weighted blanket in my car.
Oh. Wow. That's interesting. Do you so it affects your stroke side, that the weather?
Yeah.
Cold. Do you have any tremors or any kind of well, it's kind of like seizures, but clonus when you're stuck? Yeah,
especially my leg,
yeah.
I'll be sitting there in a chair and then I'll go to stretch and my stroke leg will just start vibrating. It'll start doing one of these things.
Yeah.
My wife's like, are you okay? Are you having a seizure? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
My leg's mad.
Yeah. Mine does that too. And most of the time I have to stand up, I have to stand on that side to wait there just to make sure to try and get rid of that. Otherwise, it'll just sit there and keep doing that.
That's what has contributed to a lot of my falls, because when I stand up, I think I'm fine, but I'll put the weight on that leg and it starts doing the thing. And, I start doing this and it almost like spring loads me forward onto the ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely understand. Wow. Don't you, Lisa Maddie Brown, nice to see you out here. Yeah, there's quite a few people here out there. Thank you so much for being on here, sharing your story and sharing about your firefighting. That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah.
One thing I did find was I had a couple gentlemen contact me on Facebook not long after I came home when I started joining these support groups, and they were also firefighters before their stroke.
Oh wow.
So we kind of, we had this group text going on, and just kind of pick each other up, and someone that's been in the fire service that knows the feeling of not being able to do your job or wanting to go back and do it and you can't. And the one guy, Ralph, I think he retired after 40. It was like high 40, we'll say 47, 48 years of being on the fire department.
Wow.
And I still get messages from him and even cards. He'll send a card every holiday too.
Oh, nice.
And it's been that way for years now. And it's gotten to the point where my wife, she expects a card now.
From him?
And yeah. And if he doesn't send the card, she'll ask me if he's okay or if I heard from him.
Right.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's such a great support group.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, that's great. It's nice, these support groups out there, because we know what we're going through as far as stroke related, and a lot of people that don't have it. Do they really?
The unfortunate thing is the elderly that have strokes and they come home, they might, if their spouse is still alive, then they're going to be the ones helping them out, and they don't have the resources and help that they need. So, and there might be something out there in their area that would help tremendously with their recovery, but they just, I don't think, maybe it's even more, it might be better now, I'd have to say, as far as people telling you, here's what to expect when you get home. Here's some resources to contact for help, whether it be taking you to your appointments or, like Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay alone for 24 hours for the first month that I was home. So my mom, I'm originally from Elyria, Ohio, which is about 20 miles southeast of Cleveland. And she had just retired. So she came up and stayed with us
Oh, good.
Well, I came home February 3rd, and she stayed with us till Easter weekend to help me with getting me to therapy and, just do stuff around the house because my wife had to go back to work. So.
Yeah. I understand that.
But I quit smoking probably like a month or so before my stroke. And once I passed all my driving tests and I got my license back, one of the first things I did was go to the gas station, buy a pack of cigarettes.
Wow.
And started that bad habit up again. And when my wife found out, ooh.
Oh, yeah. You're in big trouble there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did that have anything to do with your stroke? I mean, was some.
No, it was the tumor and blood clots that caused the stroke.
Yeah. Wow.
But when they did the surgery, I remember waking up and having the world's worst headache. And all I could think about was popcorn. I don't know why. Yeah. Does anybody have popcorn? My wife said, you wouldn't shut up about popcorn.
Oh my gosh. So funny. Wow.
But the day of my brain surgery, I didn't know this until years later after my dad told me. I was scheduled to have surgery in the morning. They took me down, started getting me prepped for surgery, and they did a full body CAT scan. And they found that I had a blood clot in my lung. So they had to work to remove that. And then my surgery was rescheduled for the next day. and finally had that. But before the surgery, I remember the social worker suggesting to me and my wife that, with brain surgery, you never know what's going to happen. So she suggested that we do a bedside will and testament for me. I'm like, what the hell?
Wow. That doesn't make me feel comfortable.
I'm like, that's not making me feel good going into surgery.
Yeah, exactly. No way. Yeah.
So I started going to the Cleveland Clinic from up here in Monroe because I knew the Cleveland Clinic was one of is the best hospital to go for cancer treatment.
Right.
So my insurance, they allowed me to go down there and get treatment and everything. And I had a case manager through my insurance company. And I remember the first day she showed up, she was there when I woke up. I'm like, well, who are you? She said, your case manager. I said, what's that mean? She told me. I said, well, does this mean I get to go home? And she said, from what I'm being told, you're going to be released in less than a week. I'm like, okay, good. And she helped. Well, I had 3 different case managers for 2 years after the stroke.
Right.
And all of them were tremendous help as far as keeping up with my therapy.
Yeah, what to expect.
Treatment. The one lady even did my disability paperwork for me.
Oh, wow.
So she filled it out and turned it in. And luckily I got approved the first time, because I've heard a lot of stories where they'd have to apply like 2 or 3 times. And, it took a year to get approved, but still, it's still a lot better than what most are experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when she called me back, my case manager, she said the reason why it's taken so long is at that time, college students were getting out of school on spring break.
Right.
But any of the students that were playing sports, if they got injured during their career at sports, they tried and filed for disability.
Wow. Interesting.
I'm like, wow, I don't see how they can get that, but okay.
Wow. Yeah, you would think someone has a stroke or a, life-changing event should be, be put above them, I would think. But
you would think so.
Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. Unbelievable. Man.
Oh, wow. Lynn, I didn't start smoking that early. I probably was 16 the first time I had my first cigarette.
Wow. 7 years old. Wow. Never knew that, Lynn. Pretty amazing. But, wow. Well, I appreciate you guys here. I know I loved everybody when I had my stroke. I had my stroke in the hospital, but
you just reminded me of something else. Sorry.
No.
You know how our stroke brains work? It's like you get tunnel vision, and it's like, oh, squirrel.
Totally understand.
My mom and dad, and my brother would come up every Sunday to visit me, and they were there the one day, and I knew one of the nurses that I really liked was on shift. Well, I hit my call button, and the other nurse answered. I said, hey, can you send, I can't remember, I think her name was Beth, down to my room. I said, I would like my butt rubbed right now.
Really?
Butt massage. And my mom and dad were sitting in the room with me when I did that. And, they know my humor. It can be dark or weird.
Yeah.
Well, she popped her head in the door. It's me, my wife, or me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. And she opened the door. She looked at me. She goes, you can rub your own darn butt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I remember the look on my mom's face.
Yeah, I can imagine what your dad and brother thought. Oh my gosh. It's really funny. Well, it's time to go. And I appreciate everybody being here and making comments, and awesome. Thank you, Lynn. I see your comments and everybody else's comments. And Matt, I really appreciate you and doing this at the firehouse.
Well, you got to do it in a quiet place, and it was either this or when I do my storm stuff, there's a spot I like to go to view water spouts.
Right.
So I'm down there quite a bit on my days off.
Wow.
And it was either here at the firehouse or down there at the lake, and I didn't know how it was going to be on my phone. So
right. Worked out perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed this, and it was fun. And I
Yeah,
really like watching old videos to see how other stroke survivors are doing and kind of compare notes.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I should look into this or.
Yeah, same here. That's why these videos, I think, are really important. People post stuff, I get ideas from them. So.
It's good to talk to people that's been in your shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you're a more recent stroke survivor and you're watching, definitely, look into support groups. I mean, it's not like what you see on TV where you have to talk and tell your story in person, like AA or NA or anything like that. But it really does help not only make you feel better, but it's easier for us as stroke survivors to explain what we're feeling to another stroke survivor. And
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Very important.
I talk to people nowadays that they'll see me walking or whatever, and I'll tell them my story, and they're like, I wouldn't be able to tell that you had a stroke just by looking at you. I'm like, well, that's good to know, because I feel like I got the stroke limp going. We've wobbling like this. And,
me too. Swinging that leg out and stuff. All the above. But all right. Well, Matt, it was great having you on. Thank you so much.
And if you want me to come back on again, you know how to find me.
Oh, I do. I do.
I look forward to our future conversations.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It'll be great. So
thank you for what you do, because you're bringing awareness and a place for other survivors to come and feel comfortable and tell you about their story. And
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's great. But we'll stay in touch, and we'll the part 2.
I'll we have any good fires, I'll send you some pictures. And
like my son-in-law does. So do that. So all right, Matt, take care of yourself and have a great Christmas.
Thank you. You too. And everybody out there watching, Merry Christmas, and keep fighting. Don't stop.
Absolutely.
Don't say no. If anything, just say, I'll try it, or let's see what happens.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you might fall or whatever, but at that point, it might be a funny fall where you get everybody around you can laugh about it. And
exactly. Exactly. All right. You be safe out there in the ice.
Oh yeah. All right, it's Michigan, so